Excellencies, dear colleagues, dare I say, dear statistical friends, it is my great pleasure to address you on this wonderful occasion of the celebration of your 90th anniversary of Statistics Portugal. I gladly accepted this invitation, as I have, of course, very fond memories of my personal visits to your beautiful country. The only thing better than addressing you today via this video would be celebrating with you. I also remember that one of my first projects was in the 1990s to assist the PALOPs, the Portuguese-speaking African countries, with the implementation of the then new System of National Accounts 1993. This project was done in close cooperation and with strong support of your office. I had the pleasure and privilege of visiting Guinea-Bissau and Angola, and in this process learned my first lessons about effective global cooperation in statistics. Another good reason to accept your kind invitation is, of course, the fact that we all have here in New York a very positive Portuguese influence, as our very big boss is from your country. As I have worked in the United Nations Statistics Division my whole life, you will not be surprised that I think that statistics is important, and that national statistical institutions are important. And I'm deeply convinced that statistics is one of those areas where the United Nations is working very well, even during these challenging times where multilateralism is sometimes being questioned. We statisticians are all part of a global professional community, bound together by a common sense of ethics, which is reflected in our fundamental principles of official statistics, which were originally adopted by the United Nations Statistical Commission in 1994, over 30 years ago. Our fundamental principles were later elevated to the political level by a resolution of the United Nations General Assembly in 2014. One of the most important jobs of the office that I have the privilege of leading, the United Nations Statistics Division, is to support, and I dare say, celebrate this global statistical community. Every year, the heads of national statistical offices from all over the world come together for 1 week in New York during the United Nations Statistical Commission session. Our main collective job is to define global classifications and standards. These norms are established in a truly consultative process to ensure that they address the needs of all 193 United Nations member countries, big and small, developed or developing. These norms are thus not a straitjacket, but a common language that allows us to communicate data across the globe, to compare and to aggregate, to learn from each other and to exchange experiences. And most importantly, those norms embody quality principles which ensure that the users of our data receive the best available information for decision-making processes. But we are, of course, not stuck in one traditional place. On the contrary, I find our statistical community to be quite innovative and agile. It has shown amazing resilience. Often, we are struggling with inadequate resources to satisfy the ever-increasing demand of our users, who have a voracious appetite. And still, we find new, more efficient ways to produce data. Also, the manner in which the global statistical community responded to COVID was impressive. New data sources were used and integrated into the statistical production, and the countries, in an act of professional solidarity, actively and with our support, exchanged practical experiences on how, for instance, to adjust a planned census operation in the light of this challenging pandemic. I have seen the role of the United Nations Statistical Commission change significantly over the past 30 years. Many more countries, and especially developing countries, participate in the Statistical Commission sessions and participate actively. Many more topics are being discussed. In addition to the classics of census and national accounts, we added over time environmental accounting, gender statistics, human rights statistics, good governance indicators, climate change statistics to the agenda, to name only a few. We have also opened our doors and invited relevant stakeholders and partners to the sessions. We recognize that we have to have an active user engagement and dialogue, especially as our user community has grown exponentially. In addition to our traditional government users, we now also have academia, civil society, the private sector, international investors, and international organizations knocking on our doors. High quality, internationally comparable statistics are the instrument with which societies and the international community can hold each other accountable, and as such, they are an important pillar for democracy. But even, and especially in this data-rich world, good statistics do not fall from the trees. They need to be invested in. We need to do a better job of communicating the value of high-quality statistics. National statistical offices are the quality guarantors of any national statistical system. In fact, national information system. We recognize that national statistical offices are no longer the only source of information. There are line ministries, academic institutions, the private sector, and of course the citizens themselves who produce and contribute big data every day. In fact, every second. And the notion of data has expanded tremendously. They are not only numerical. There is geospatial information, such as satellite images, which can be critical for the sustainable development of a country. Think of forest or coastal management. National Statistical Office have the new job to not only produce a numerical good, but to produce an important quality service. They have the expertise and experience to keep the national information system together, to ensure consistency over time and space, and to advise on whether a particular data item is fit for a particular purpose. And most importantly, national statistical offices ensure fundamental data quality. That is worth the investment. Making more informed and better decisions at the political as well as at the personal level is a tangible return to investment. Dear colleagues, the recent United Nations Statistical Commission in March this year was my 31st and last Statistical Commission session. It was, in my view, fascinating to see how the global statistical community did its traditional duty and launched the new World Population and Housing Census Round from 2025 to 2034. The Commission also adopted the new System of National Accounts 2025, which contains forward-looking chapters on well-being and sustainability, making the important nexus between the economic, social, and environmental spheres. These two powerful statistical tools alone will lay the foundations for global demographic and economic statistics for the next decade and will support the sustainable development of many countries around the world. But in addition, the UN Statistical Commission also discussed many forward-looking topics, such as big data, the use of new information technology, and in particular artificial intelligence, and the important topic of data governance. I want to take this opportunity to thank Statistics Portugal for its past engagement with the global community, and I encourage you strongly to keep engaging and contributing actively to the global debates. Before I conclude, I want to congratulate you once again on your rich history and your service over the past 90 years. You are rightfully and proudly carrying the important notions of dedication, reliability, innovation, and quality service in your celebratory title. That is also a commitment for the future. I'm very much aware that a good organization can only be good because it is made up of good people. So on this special day, I want to thank and congratulate each and everyone in Statistics Portugal for their dedication and hard professional work. We at the United Nations Statistics Division are certainly looking forward to continuing our close cooperation. Obrigado. Thank you again for this invitation.